just fired up my 2JZ swapped Hellcat and got it running for the very first time. Now the challenge that seems to lie before us is keeping it running. We've got less than 48 hours before I leave to put this thing on FuelTech's dyno, and I only seem to be going in the wrong direction. We'll get to this here in a little bit, but first we need to fix the oil leak. One little plug ruining all our fun. This is a pipe thread plug that, because we're running a GE block, needed to be put in place because we had to drill this for the turbo feed through the oil galley.
Right, so from the factory there's a ball bearing pressed in there, and when they do that drilling they have to get all the machining debris out of there, so this pipe plug replaces that ball bearing and needs to be sealed in there very heavily.
Pipe plugs are tapered, but if you watch the last video, you saw when we fired this thing up, we had something like 130 PSI of oil pressure on that first startup, which is just a lot of pressure. Lots of thread sealant.
All of the thread sealant.
More.
I hope that's enough. Not happening again.
Thread sealant everywhere. Is that like strongman tight?
That's like, I bet that's 70 foot-pounds. Maybe more, actually. That was pretty tight.
And now we wait.
Gotcha.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Dang. We've passed enough time now, and the finished product looks absolutely great, but the real question is going to be if it's going to hold. Now, before we put the whole thing back together, we are going to put just the flywheel on, go ahead and start this thing, and make sure we don't have any leaks. Was several minutes of idling, I don't know, at least 10 to 15, and we are completely bone dry, which I think means that we can slap this thing back together and then take care of the next issue on the top side. When we went to fire this thing up for the first time, we realized we had some sort of weird fuel pressure issue, and we need to figure out if it's electrical or it's mechanical. We have 3 fuel pumps. 2 of them are wired together to be boost activated, and one of them is designed to be the primary pump, but when we trigger that primary pump, you can hear it, but it only generates basically spikes to 20 pounds of fuel pressure, and then it holds at 16.
The way the pumps are wired in the tank, one connector has pump number 1 on it, and a second connector has pump number 2 and 3 on it. I assumed that it truly didn't matter which one of those pumps was the primary and which 2 of the pumps were boost activated outputs. Assumption wrong.
Maybe. So basically the plan is we're going to move around which relay triggers which pump and see if we get a different scenario. The logo on the back of your shirt seems very fitting right about now.
I'll do that guy.
So now pump 1 will actually be pump 1, and essentially we have a different primary pump in the tank. All we did is just switch the wiring and which pump is being triggered. Look at that. Literally changing nothing else except what pump is being triggered, and that jumped up to 45 PSI.
Impressive.
Okay, so just to confirm. Oh, nope, I lied. What was that?
Man, this is weird.
Okay, so that was interesting.
Do that again? Yep. The light for pump 1 comes on.
I swear I saw 45.
You did, so did I.
Why would it? Okay, hold on.
But it sounds totally different. That's 2 and 3.
Oh, really? So the ignition is hitting 2 and 3.
Oh, no, because we didn't save anything. So
that's what these tests are for.
Yeah. Let me jungle Jim through the car here. Confirm, change, right. Okay, now key cycle it. And pump 1 should kick when you key cycle it instead of pump 2 and 3. And it should read 20.
Coming up, ready?
Yep. Yep, that's pump 1.
And 20 pounds.
Right, okay. Which means go to the fuel pressure regulator, let's set fuel pressure again.
Is it reacting?
Yeah.
I think we have an issue with the pump.
So do I.
Yeah.
Something internal, which is the least Convenient issue.
Yeah. All right, so we're trying to be as thorough as we can before we go ahead and dive back into the tank. So what we ended up doing is that single pump trigger, we ended up moving it from pump number 1 to just pump number 2. No other pumps hooked up. Both pump 2 and pump 3 react the exact same, which makes us think it's not actually a problem with that pump 1, and it's something else because they all do the exact same thing no matter which pump we use. So kind of fortunately, we have the other pump assembly that I mistakenly ordered for a Hellcat. Apparently, the only difference is essentially the body. This orifice here is set up for a larger diameter tube in the tank, but supposedly everything else is the same, which gives us the opportunity to give this a look over outside of the tank, not soaked in fuel.
Pretty convenient.
So internally, even though all 3 pumps have their own line that feeds up to this point, they all ultimately end up in the same spot that then feeds to the dash 10 outlet. Does your brain hurt? Because my brain hurts.
Yes.
All right, I hate figuring stuff out off camera, but we've literally been talking through scenarios for 30 minutes now. And I think we have this figured out, maybe. So we've been testing pumps, trying to figure out if we thought we had a bad check valve in a pump because the fuel pressure drops instantly when you stop feeding power to the pumps. So we're feeding power to one pump, turning another one off, vice versa, checking all the combinations, trying to figure out if we have a bad check valve. And we basically just realized that we essentially have a open port that would act as a bleed back scenario that we're trying to diagnose that runs over to the siphon pump. This runs over to the siphon pump and then has that cap that we had an issue with that then comes back and literally just dumps fuel here. It's an open orifice. So we're trying to fill a dash 10 feed line, a dash 8 return line fuel system while having an open orifice, which one pump just can't do. It's too much volume. So essentially we're chasing an issue here that it's not really an issue. I don't think anything's wrong with our system. It's just the way the system is designed that instead of running one pump with 2 being boost activated by the FuelTech FT600, we're going to have to run 2 fuel pumps just to create enough volume to overcome the system dimensions that we're working with, and then the additional 3rd pump will have to be used as the boost activated. You want some of this?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Now I can tell you guys what the actual solution is, and if you were paying attention earlier, we had 2 blue wires and this trigger, which now goes to nothing. Now you can see we have a 3rd blue wire because all 3 of these pumps are designed to run together. These extreme fuel pumps don't have internal check valves like every other fuel pump that Tim or I has ever experienced. So if it's not generating fuel flow, it is allowing it to bleed back past it. So essentially this mysterious, leaky check valve orifice that we've been chasing is the pump that is not running or pumps that are not running, which really, now that we know that, makes a ton of sense. Hit it. Holy fuel pressure. All right, now release it. Okay, it still bleeds back pretty darn quickly, which I guess makes sense because the pumps are still, again, if they're not on, they're off.
Right.
So it's never going to bleed back slowly.
If they're not on, they're off. The most insightful thing you've said all morning.
I'm not wrong. The front bumper's on, the wheels are on. Yes, they're torqued, but I'm bringing Tim with me this time on the first test drive, just in case they're not.
Okay, well, that is another thing. So, no power steering. We're gonna have to figure that one out. I just assumed it would be on because I guess it doesn't think the car's on. No power steering. We're gonna fix that. Not like the Alternator can handle that power steering anyway.
moving though.
Sounds like a Supra. Wow.
There's so much going on the dash right now. It's ridiculous.
We need to trick the factory computer. We got 110 pounds of wheel pressure right now. It's great.
It's not that quiet in the car.
No,
It's got like some tone to it.
it sounds like a Supra.
This U-turn is gonna be rough.
It kicks in at speed. So it happened to me. It's because it's generating its own voltage. Yeah, no, we haven't hooked the transformers up. At certain speed, it'll kick in. It happened to me inside the shop when you guys were pushing it.
How does it know what speed it is?
It's not. I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know. You have it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truthfully, I don't know. It happened to us inside the shop when you guys were actually pushing it, and I got power steering for a split second. I'm like, what? I mean, fan must be on. Fan's definitely on. Battery voltage just dropped.
Okay, so we got a lot to figure out, but it's moving under its own power. That's turn it off, right?
Or that. But yes, that'll turn it off too. You don't have to.
Does that go off on its own?
What's happening right now? Well, this isn't. Hold on. Now do it.
Well, we've got a different problem now. Now it doesn't turn off, which is new.
Let the clutch out and try and turn it off.
Oh, you're a Mopar tech. You're a Mopar tech. So
Why were
if
you on the clutch the whole time?
I don't know. Why are you yelling at me? This is ridiculous. Because the car doesn't know where it is in its starting spectrum.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you can turn it off with a button
Yes, it did. It turns on and off with the button.
Right.
As long as you're not
on the f***ing clutch.
on the clutch.
All right, burnout time. Let's go. Burnout time. Just trying to get the outtakes sorted for next video or what? Welcome to Team Mopar Thought. This isn't fair. Tim's gonna get the first look. He can walk under it before I get over there.
Oh, wow. That's...
Always the short end of the jokes, huh?
Yeah. God damn.
The drive shaft's in one piece.
What about the axles?
What about the diff?
The diff's the least of our problems,
The
right?
diff broke in half.
Yeah.
Hey, I can see your LSD.
Dude.
Wow.
I mean, it still operates as the fun. The spotter gears inside have to be trashed, right? So this whole assembly basically broke and came back because what holds this in is no longer there. That's somewhere else.
That was incredibly insightful information.
Come on, guy. You gotta be more positive. Look at the owner right now. He's like, why'd I get into Mopars?
You should have learned from me for sure.
I mean, people say that the 2JC is not gonna make any torque.
Oh yeah, look.
We've proved that they're wrong.
The whole thing's crooked. I don't know if that was torque or RPM. I think that was RPM plus some kind of traction control system. The engine was wanting to go and something else was wanting to stop it, and that's what kind of...
Good job. Wow.
Silence the whole time. Perfect.
This car is literally history repeating itself. Like this entire build, aside from it being a 2JZ, is buying cars from salvage auction, stealing wiring out of them, finally get it running, break it doing a burnout.
Yep.
It's history repeating itself.
But if you remember, I broke it, and then I fixed it and broke it right away again. So there's more to come. Stay tuned, all right?
Yeah, he's gonna break it again.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. We're just getting started, right?
Yeah.
Drive shaft doesn't appear to be damaged in any way. The exhaust doesn't appear to be damaged in any way. The subframe doesn't appear to be damaged in any way. So all we got to do, pull a new diff out of inventory, put it in, and then not break it. No, not break it again.
So hold on. We technically have 2 spare differentials right now. So you got another one to spare. Well, you know, we'll get that burnout done after all.
Oh no, she's stuck.
Is that normal?
The fact that the entire, well, at this point, is it easier? Why don't you just hit the bolts and then the whole casing is going to come off?
What, those?
Yeah. Yeah, just hit those and then you can separate that and that'll just be the gear thing. Heads up. Jeez. This thing is dangerous the way they designed this to be serviced. Helps if you have the right tools. Just how they drew it up.
Like that. Needs to do that. I don't think those are supposed to come off like that. And then this just comes off at this point. You got yourself a differential. What's your opinion?
One completely destroyed Hellcat differential, and for as bad as the casing looks, the internals on this really didn't fare so bad. Given how catastrophic this was, I was expecting chunks of metal to just be going through everywhere and marring everything up. On the input, it really just has one little nick right there, and then the ring gear itself just has a good chunk out of it, but still surprisingly less damage than I anticipated. Luckily, we just pulled a new differential out of inventory. This came off of the Scat Pack donor car for all the wiring, and really the only thing I'm slightly upset about is that this is a 390 differential because it came from a manual Scat Pack, and the manual Hellcat was a 370, which given our power levels, I think that this might have ultimately been a little bit better, but down the road we can switch if it turns into an issue. Right now, we just need to get this thing driving again. We've identified 2 other issues that need to be addressed before this thing hits FuelTech's dyno. One of them is the thermostat, and the other is the alternator. Conveniently, they're both basically located in the same area of the engine bay. Don't lose Tim. Don't lose Tim.
I will not lose.
Don't lose Tim. Oh yeah, victory.
It's a baby. The factory alternator on the 2JZ for the IS300 is like 90 amps or 110 if you have an automatic transmission. Our cooling fan alone draws 50 amps. Then the power steering draws 50 amps. And then where's the rest of the amperage for, you know, horsepower?
The important stuff.
Right.
So I picked up a MechMan alternator from Induction Performance. This is rated to 240 amps. It looks like this one tested to 261. So call it 3 times the output. We did have to pulley it down slightly because of how high we're going to rev this thing, but this is going to take care of all of our charging needs while this thing's running. Now, before the alternator goes back in, we need to go ahead and change that thermostat. The factory thermostat for the 2JZ is 82 degrees Celsius. I'll let somebody, you know, check my conversion down in the comments, but it's something like 185 degrees. We are switching to this PHR 68 degrees Celsius, which converts to roughly 155. I pretty much nailed that, math nerds. So the basic idea is that the thermostat is going to open roughly 25 degrees earlier, give that giant Mishimoto radiator a chance to keep the cooling in a more reasonable range. Previously, what we had seen is that it was hovering right between 205 and 210. With this being a new build, I just don't trust it enough for it to stay there. Power steering be nice. slot power steering. Spot than I was the last time that I was in the driver's seat of this car. It's time for this thing to get down to Georgia to get onto FuelTech's dyno, and then we'll deal with a couple of the little issues when we get back. Yeah, it's not quiet under boost. Not a bad start. Yeah, that woke it up a little bit more.
Gotta change the scale.
Yeah, now it's waking up. £28 of boost. I was hoping that I put enough wastegate spring in this thing running the 17-pound combination, but apparently it's not. On pump gas, that 550 rear wheel horsepower number was with only 13 pounds of boost. So if we want to get to 30 plus, we're going to have to put a lot more spring in this. Our previous combination was the 14-pound spring and the 3-pound spring, which gives you your 17 PSI combination. But because of a very efficient RTEC exhaust manifold, this was regulating boost around 13 PSI. So we are going to swap out that 3-pound spring for an additional 7-pound spring that will go inside of the 14-pound spring, which will effectively increase our boost pressure spring rating to 21 pounds, which will allow us to generate just a little bit more pressure for this high boost E85 setting. Not too bad, all things considering. A fresh set of plugs in, and the ones that came out all look pretty good and pretty uniform. The only thing that we notice is cylinder number 5 looks ever so slightly leaner. So Cameron's going to go through, add a little bit of fuel just on that cylinder, and then we're going to see what this thing does. Hell yeah! A little bit more. Back-to-back 1,000 horsepower pulls solidifies what I came here to do. I had basically one goal, well, two goals, to leave in one piece and to make more than 1,000 horsepower. It took 35 pounds of boost to do it, but this thing is also making more power now than a Demon 170 with a couple less cylinders. The only other question that I want to answer is going to be back in Maryland, and that is, what does it weigh? Lee's Demon 170 is the measuring stick for both horsepower and now weight. Judging by your face, it's not great.
That's a heavy measuring stick. Now to be clear, I got a 3/4 of a tank of gas in it. I have a bag of cement in the trunk too. So the gas thing's real. The cement, you know. Excuses. 4283. That's wow. Heavy. That's not good.
So besides his excuses, maybe the only piece worth mentioning is the fact that this is an automatic transmission. It's not a manual. The original Demon, the fire burnt one, which has been lightened significantly by, well, you know. But that car also is missing all the HVAC, so we didn't think that was the best comparison. Any more excuses, or is that?
No, I'll leave them to you when I whoop you on Saturday or Sunday, whenever it is. What's your guess?
My guess? 3860.
I'll say 3950.
I think 3950 is a good guess.
What? How much gas you got in it?
At least half a tank.
All right.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
That's a lot of weight.
That
actually.
is so disappointing.
That's a lot of weight.
So the other thing that is kind of interesting is that the weight distribution is slightly better, and that might just be a stretch.
The factory Hellcat weighs 4470, so this one's actually 400 pounds lighter than a Hellcat, not a Demon.
You know, the funniest thing we've learned here, or the most confusing thing to me, is why is this one 200 pounds lighter than a regular Hellcat? Rear seat delete, obviously, but the listed weight on this is 4275. Like, on Google, it's official. How is it that much lighter?
Carbon fiber center console.
Wheels.
Wheels, smaller front brakes, rear seat delete.
Rear seat delete.
I don't know where the rest of that comes from. Impressive.
Plus interchiller.
Yeah, it's true. True.
Maybe the most important question, though, to wrap things up is how it feels to no longer be the Hellcat king of ScrapLife Garage, Lee. You no longer have the highest horsepower Dodge Hellcat. Did you ever think that would happen?
Your words are very specific. And did you make him stand in front of this car so they can't see?
That doesn't count.
That kind of counts.
That's a Toyota. We're talking about the Hellcats here.
See, those are show ponies, all right? These are real ponies, all right? And it's going to show you that when you're seeing this at the track. What, a couple days from now?
July 13th, Pocono, Pennsylvania, Race Motive. We're going to hopefully get the winner of the Bling Sauce contest to ride along with us. But one way or another, Lee and I are going to settle the score.
Slightly is definitely a stretch.
Oh, come on, cleaner than that, Tim.
Sponsored by Advil. There's your problem.
Don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so.
Make sure you get this in the shot so there's like one real Mopar in this video. I can even stand next to it if you want. Just. What's the Mopar stance?
No, you tell me.
Something like that.
Sorry, this is out of focus anyway. All I have is the back of your head.
It's terrible grab. I was trying to be elegant too.
Got a little antsy in our pantsy, you know?
Yeah. That inspired all the confidence. The extreme cashier with the guys in the convenience store pushing the guy on the kayak over top of the shelves.
You're full of like movie quotes on these last couple days. You had the Joe Dirt one too.
Oh, Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
Extreme cashier.
Keep it on this one. He'll just drive right past it. See a little grass. God damn. Nice.